Wita for taking my car away from my BF if he doesn't maintain it, even if it's his only way to work. I 37F and my BF 37 meters have been together for nearly 4 years, own a 2014 car and a 2019 pickup. I bought both vehicles brand new in their respective years. They're both under my name and they are now 100% paid off. Both vehicles are insured and registered under my name. I pay for the insurance. And just this year did he pay for the registration for the car, still under my name though. 6 or so months after we got together his car died, so since my car was mostly just parked I said he could use mine till I sold it. When actually got around to putting up ads etc. he asked me not to sell it BC he had nothing else to drive to and from work. I agreed. Now I drive my truck 95% of the time and he has the car on the rare occasion I need to drive long distance, so I opt to drive the car to save on gas. This happens maybe once every 3 months. About 6 months ago a headlight went out on the car. He looked into fixing it and decided it was too much trouble, so he wants to save to pay someone he hasn't. He continues to drive with a burnt out headlight. Whatever his choice, I know I can do it myself, but I honestly just don't have the time because I work 3 jobs. I'll get to it eventually. Recently I have noticed the car is making some awful rattling noises. I asked him if he was going to get it looked at. He said he would if I paid for it. I brought up that he is the one who has been putting the wear and tear on my car for 3 years now. I paid the insurance. He should have to pay for the maintenance on it. He said he can't afford it. Well, in my mind that means you can't afford having a car. I plan on talking to him and explaining that I can't afford maintenance onto vehicles. Is why I wanted to sell the car in the first place. If he can't get it fixed then I will, but if I do I will be selling it afterwards. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my sister that she deserved her breakup after what she did to her ex. This has been eating at me for a while and my family is split on who's in the wrong, so I need outside opinions. My sister Aita 7F was dating Mark 29 meters for about 3 years. They lived together, had a dog together, and honestly seemed perfect for each other. Mark was a good guy, stable job, treated Anna really well, and was basically part of the family. I liked him, and even our parents adored him. A few months ago Anna told me that she was starting to feel bored in the relationship. She said Mark was a little too predictable and that she missed the excitement of dating. I told her that was normal after a while and suggested they plan something spontaneous or talk things through, but she seemed set on causing drama. Next thing I know Anna tells me she's been secretly flirting with this guy at her gym, Ethan to 5M. She said it was just innocent fun to spice things up, but I told her she was playing with fire. Well, apparently that escalated and she ended up hooking up with Ethan. Mark found out after she left her phone unlocked and all the texts between her and Ethan were right there. He was devastated and broke up with her immediately. Anna was heartbroken too, but more because she didn't think he'd find out and she just wanted some fun, not to ruin the relationship. This is where things get heated. Anna called me crying, saying Mark was being dramatic for leaving her over one mistake, and that she didn't deserve to lose everything over a fling. She wanted me to comfort her, but instead I lost it. I told her that she deserved a breakup because she cheated and hurt someone who treated her so well. I said she made her bed and now she had to lie in it. Anna hung up on me and now she's telling everyone in the family that I kicked her while she was down and that I'm a terrible sister for not supporting her during a hard time. My parents think I was harsh but agree with what I said, while a few relatives are saying I should have done kinder since she's already suffering the consequences of her actions. So rated Aita for telling my sister she deserved her breakup. Stories number 3. If I don't want to declare my salary to my older brother who is applying for sponsorship, and it requires family members' income info. I'm happy that my older brother is continuing his studies and am pursuing his master's. He is asking for sponsorship from the university, however they require family member salary info, which I'm very uncomfortable to share. I know there are people who are open to share, but because I've witnessed other family members taking advantage of one who earns higher, I have never disclosed my salary except to my mother. I told him I would be more than happy to give a range, but he told me the university wants the exact amount. I love my siblings, but I have seen him being very calculative with rental etc. If I don't wish to disclose my salary for his uni sponsorship. Stories number 4. Aita for refusing to pay for my brother's wedding after he invited my ex. So here's the situation. My 28 younger brother 25 meters is getting married soon and I was excited for him until I found out he decided to invite my ex-girlfriend to 7F to the wedding. Now let me give you some background. We broke up over a year ago and it was pretty rough. She cheated on me with his best friend. And it took me months to get over that betrayal. When I found out she was invited, I was furious and reached out to my brother to express my feelings. I told him that I would not attend if she was there. Instead of being understanding, he got defensive and accused me of ruining his big day. He insisted that he wanted her there because they've become friends since the breakup and that she's changed. I told him that if I am not welcome, then I won't be attending and therefore I won't be covering my share of the wedding expenses, which I had already agreed to pay before the invitation fiasco. Now my family is pulling me in every direction, saying I'm being petty and ruining my brother's wedding for no reason. They're calling me an asshole for not supporting my brother and for potentially putting a financial strain on his wedding plans. Some even suggested I should just suck it up and attend for the sake of family. I've now decided that I'm not paying for a single thing, and that if he wants to have a wedding with my ex as the guest of honor, it's on him to cover the costs. Am I the asshole for standing my ground and refusing to fund my brother's wedding under these circumstances? Update: Aita for refusing to pay for my brother's wedding after he invited my ex. Part 2. Okay, so I wanted to update everyone because things have escalated and it's even crazier than I expected. After my last post, I thought maybe my family would come around to my way of thinking. Instead, they absolutely lost it. My brother called me crying, saying I'm ruining his happiness and my parents have taken his side 100%. In a fit of rage, I ended up posting screenshots of our conversations in our family group chat. You know, the ones where he called me selfish and petty. Yeah, I regret that decision, but it felt like a let's air this dirty laundry moment. My extended family saw the texts and now half of them think I'm justified while the other half is calling me the family villain. To add fuel to the fire, my ex-girlfriend reached out to me directly. She said it's unfair that I'm acting like she's some monster and I should just be mature about the situation. I told her she would always be a reminder of my brother's betrayal and that I won't ever see her in a positive light. She then had the audacity to say my brother might reconsider his whole wedding if I'm not there. Now my parents want us to have a family meeting to discuss this drama like we're some sort of reality TV show. I told them I'm not showing up if it's just going to be him whining while my ex is basking in it all. Call me dramatic, but this whole mess has made me feel like in an episode of a soap opera. So now I'm considering throwing some cash into the mix for an epic weekend getaway instead of funding his wedding. His wedding is becoming about my ex and not about him. Honestly, I feel justified in saying no. I'm still standing my ground. The part of me is genuinely worried this might tear my family apart. Edit: I'm overwhelmed by all the replies and I appreciate them all. I'm sorry if I'm unable to reply to them all, but I read every single one. Stories number 5. Aita for refusing to continue hosting parties for my family. I too 6F love hosting parties for my family. I'm usually the one in charge of Christmas and most birthdays are celebrated at my home. I love doing nice and elaborate parties. I usually plan a menu, make everything from scratch, decorate. For Christmas I started doing Secret Santa, and depending on the event, even some games or karaoke. Before I started doing this, my family used to do pretty normal events, just one meal like a basic BBQ, buying pizza, traditional food, and buying a cake for dessert. Never decorated, and the parties were just about showing up, eating, and leaving. There was nothing wrong with that, but I love Christmas, so about 4 years ago I decided I was going to host for once, and did it. As I mentioned, everyone loved it and were praising me for everything. With the years I've definitely improved my cooking and party planning skills, and honestly I'm very proud of what I do. They liked it so much that they started asking that for some birthdays if I could host a party as a gift for them. And I happily did. It's important to mention that my main family is only 9 or 10 people, so it's not too much for me to handle or too expensive. Now to the issue, the last parties I've been hosting, which were the last Christmas, my mom's, uncles and aunts' birthdays, and my husband's birthday as the most recent, they have gotten what I consider nasty attitude. For example, I would send proper invites clearly stating that the party would start at 3:30 p.m. Well, they would show up at 12 p.m. and comment how I wasn't ready for my husband's party. They saw that the decorations were halfway Done and started asking why the food wasn't ready. I had told them it was an early dinner, but decided to show up without having eaten lunch and to just give up with the decorations and start cooking cause I was being rude by letting them be hungry. Long story short, they started eating random stuff, and everyone pressured me into cutting several things off the party and move the schedule quicker to accommodate them, leading me to not have the party as I had pictured and having to rush cook just for some of them to leave right after the food and left only 6 of us behind. They have done the same in all the other events, show up early, shame me for not being ready, and leave. That leads to yesterday when I was talking to my mom and asked me what was I planning for Christmas this year. I said I wasn't planning anything since I had told them last time I didn't like their attitude and I was done. That lead to a fight about how I can't take a joke and I should instead learn to take help and accommodate to our family. The argument lead to nothing but has left me wondering why really, here. My husband is on my side but I'd like some unbiased opinions. ETA. Some of you have asked about what she meant by not accepting help. Here's a comment I left before explaining more. They have offered help before and I'd let them but never do as I asked. For example, last Christmas I was making an apple crumble. They offered help so I asked them to just peel the apples and specifically told them not to cut them since I like them sliced in a very specific way, also to only peel the green ones since the red was for a charcuterie table I was assembling. They peeled all of them and cut them into cubes. When I got annoyed, they called me dramatic and that it was better their way. I stopped letting them help because they always thought they knew better. So I instead asked them to sit and have a drink and had snacks prepared in case I got delayed. Now they show up even too early for me to have the drinks and snacks ready. Stories number 6. Getting back at my aunt and her awful family. When I was 10, my family lost our home. My parents never told me what happened. All I remember was that one day we had to move into my aunt's place. Something important here is that I am biracial. My father's family is white, while my mom's family is black. My father's family was very much not okay with my father marrying a black woman and they didn't like me much either. My aunt, my father's sister, wasn't very happy having my mom and me in her house, but she still let us all live with her. However, she still made us get rid of our dog and a lot of our things well beyond the need to downsize to move to her place. She told my mom to shave my hair for some bullshit reason. My parents were desperate and they obeyed. I was old enough to understand that my aunt was behind it, so I never really blamed my parents. It took my parents about 2 years to recover from whatever happened, and we stayed that time with my aunt and her family. They were very cruel to my mom and I, making fun of us, destroying what remained of our possessions, treating my mom as if she was stupid and letting my cousins bully me. Eventually my parents were able to get us back on our feet. My parents bought a house and everything became better. We mostly cut contact with my father's family. I'm now 30 and recently bought a nice place for myself. About 3 months ago my parents told me that my aunt and her husband lost their home where they lived with my cousins. They warned me they would most likely try to guilt me into letting them move in with me. As they predicted, my aunt asked me to give them a place to live. She said I owed them after they let my parents and me live with them even when we were such awful guests who didn't appreciate their kindness. Funny how we remember those 2 years differently. After thinking about it for a while, I told them that they could live with me under certain conditions. First, they would have to get rid of their cats. Second, they would have to get rid of a lot of their possessions. Third, they would all have to shave their hair. My uncle, my aunt, and my cousins, they are not stupid. They knew those were the exact same conditions they gave my parents, and that I had no other reason to place the same conditions other than to get back at them. And just like my parents back then, they were really desperate, so after 3 days they came back to my place without their cats, with less than a fourth of their possessions, and with clean-shaved heads, all 4 of them. Only unlike them, I still didn't allow them to stay. I closed my door in their noses and refused to open until they left. I don't really know where they're staying and I don't really care. Stories number 7. Aita for refusing to help my parents with their struggling business after everything that happened. In January 2021, my parents and I started a small business together. They invested $30,000. While I handled marketing, licensing, structure, finances, etc., my parents contributed their cooking skills. I was promised 10% ownership but never received anything in writing. The business started as a small 340 square feet space selling snacks, sweets and drinks, and in our first year we made $352,000 in sales. Despite my contributions, I only made a small salary, about $600 per week. I didn't complain, because I wanted my 10% to grow. Meanwhile, my parents bought a mobile home and a van in cash. After 11 months, we expanded to a 2,700 square feet restaurant, which boosted our monthly sales to $40,000, $50,000, closing our second year with over $800,000 in revenue. My parents also threw a lavish $30,000 quinceañera for my little sister, all paid for by the business. Despite the growth, things took a turn. My parents began treating us poorly, making it clear the business was theirs and we were just employees. My wife and I, who had worked tirelessly opening and closing the place every day, decided to step away in May of our third year. At the time, the business was generating $60,000, $70,000 per month, and was on track to make $15 million that year. After we left, sales plummeted to around $18,000 per month. I felt conflicted because I had poured so much effort into the business that after their treatment it wasn't worth it. By August, I decided to step back in, but this time on different terms. Instead of being just an employee, I took out loans, bought the kitchen equipment, and essentially took over half the business. My parents kept the snack side, while my wife and I ran the restaurant under new brand, sharing the same space. In the first month, we increased sales to $35,000. By the second month, we hit $45,000. And by the third month, we were on track to reach $60,000. But then something devastating happened. I found out my 22-year-old sister and her husband were saying my 15-year-old sister. Both of them worked in the business. I immediately reported them to the police and they were arrested. It was later revealed that my stepson was also a victim of my sister. Despite all this, my parents bailed my sister out of jail after just 1 week and asked us to fix things as a family and pretend nothing had happened. That was the breaking point for me, my wife, kids, and I walked away from the business and left everything behind, including the equipment we had bought. My sister returned to work as if nothing had happened, but when the community found out, my parents faced backlash and eventually sold the business. They moved to another city, started a new business, and never paid me back for the equipment I'd bought. My sister now lives with them along with her children and the same guy who assaulted my younger sister. It's been a year since all of this happened. Now my parents are asking me to help them with marketing for their new business because that's my expertise. I've been refusing, telling them I don't want any part in their business anymore after everything that went down. So Aita, for not helping my parents with their business again. For context, during the brief period I owned my restaurant, I started a non-profit that supports abandoned or neglected senior citizens. We partner with local restaurants to cater meals, and a team of volunteers help serve and spend time with the seniors. I continue this work and now offer web design and marketing services to small restaurants. I've also recently partnered with a friend to co-own a small kitchen where we are 50-50 its partners. Update: I've made a new report to the CPS for my little sisters and the baby's safety, because they still live with my other sister and the boyfriend still comes around to see his kids. Hopefully they do something about it. My stepson did finished his therapy. He's actually good now. He does lives with his dad. Stories number 8. How do I politely refuse advances of female coworkers as a man? So I'm a paramedic. I wouldn't call myself conventionally attractive. Average, best last 2 years. I have been putting in a lot of gym work and have increased my size a lot. This surprisingly has garnered quite a bit of attention from my female coworkers. I've had people come over and playfully slap my arse, touch my arms, and make comments. Now I don't mind getting attention. It is quite fun actually, and not something I've been used about. Unconcerned it might be going too far. People are making comments straight to my face about intercourseal attraction and that they want to do to me. Multiple girls have mentioned that I come up in group chats a lot. Normally I'd be overjoyed, but I don't want to make work awkward. And I certainly don't want to be entering into any relationships, emotional or physical. How do you think I should repel advances in the workplace causing minimum awkwardness and hurt? Stories number 9. My son was intentionally left off his daughter's birth certificate. Good morning. My son 19 meters to 20 next month and his partner to 1F just had a beautiful baby girl. While my son left the hospital, his partner's words, it was decided to not list him as the father. He's very hurt and upset by this. Her family does not get along with my son. I get it. But this should have been her decision which had already been discussed. My heart is broken for him. And I have told him that this makes him no less her father. She is a spitting image of him. We have no question or doubt about paternity. Absolutely love his partner. But this rubbed me the wrong way. Their relationship has been rocky, I get it. And after speaking with her, this is why she didn't let him sign, and did it without him. But again, despite what they've been through, it makes him nitrogen monoxide less her father. They live together have for almost a year and he is working full-time hours. And we are working on getting his diploma. I feel this was done so that he does not have any rights. I'm waiting patiently because I know this will all blow up and he'll be listed eventually. They receive assistance. They'll absolutely want someone to help pay the medical bills. And they'll be looking to list him to pay child support, right? So I know this will all come to a head at some point. But what if they try to say they do not know who the father is? They meaning her family influencing her again? Where do I help him go from there? I think we should be able to go up to DHHS and request paternity and begin a legal process once results are established. But I have no idea honestly. I know that they do mouth swab testing, but from what I read it has to be requested by the mother. We live in any, so maybe that varies by state. The conversation I had with her was calm and short. Again, we have a good relationship, but I didn't in a million years think she would do this either. I'm not going to insert myself. I've told my son to just keep on keeping on with loving them and growing. But I do want some advice on where to take this if they separate, or as mentioned, they try to say he's not the father so he doesn't have rights. Thank you for reading this far, if you have. Stories number 10. I've been paying half mortgage for 8 years and BF gets anxious when I talk about investing in a home. Sorry if this is too long. My BF 48 and man, I for 6F have been together for 8 years, a little less than a year in. He told me that letting go of my gorgeous, inexpensive house I was renting would help relieve his trust issues. I did, but trust issues didn't improve and still haven't. We've never discussed finances, but he's talked about his mortgage and bills. And so I've always paid half, which he recently referred to as my pitching in. Anyway, he's owned his house for 27 plus years and, well, he's called it our house. Recently he's called it his house a few times during arguments. Now that is what it is. But when I've talked about investing in a home for my mom or investing in property, he gets anxious and objects. I don't like arguing, and if someone repeatedly calls it their house, that clearly tells me where I stand, so why even argue? I see how much I mean. I've owned my own house and acreage in the past, and I'm certainly not out to take his house, but I have absolutely no security here. He knows if something should happen to him, his home would go into probate, and I would be out. His siblings, who he can't stand, would definitely take the house. Anyway, it doesn't feel like I'm building much of a future in this LTR. I even feel like discussing it would be a stressful waste of my time. He promised for us to go to counseling, but it's been 6 years and has never happened, and I've asked for it repeatedly lately, and he's begun throwing tantrums and being moody because I've started setting boundaries about not doing weekend getaways to his family lake house until we start counseling. We've tried counseling in the past, but he even didn't trust any of the 8 therapists we'd tried seeing over 5 years ago. A few extra tidbits: he was a heavy drinker and stopped cold turkey about 6 months ago when I said I couldn't take it anymore. I've helped oversee non-stop repairs to his home, the family lake house, and his parents' house. I've also helped with caretaking of his elderly parents. He especially wants me to care for the lake house because he convinced his parents to buy the lake house and no one else is here to care for it. His parents can no longer go, and I'm handy. His house is in a gentrified, now rich part of town, but he has neglected caretaking and maintenance of the home. For example, he failed to do roof repairs and recently had to rely on his parents to assist with $50,000 plus of damage to the house from water damage. I hate to leave him, but all of the signs are pointing in that direction. I feel like this probably isn't uncommon, wanting to have his cake and eat it too. I feel like I'm investing in his future and not ours. Mine. I feel like a glorified roommate. It breaks my heart. Thoughts? I told the guy who I dated before this one that I wouldn't live with anyone before marriage. Jokes on me. Thank you. Stories number 11. I'm breaking up with my boyfriend because I deserve better. I've finally made the decision that has been hovering over my head for most of our 2 years together. I had already loved him, man, showed him every chance I got. I took care of him financially and emotionally while he Struggled with his mental health, yet he allowed me to lay in hospital by myself in the worst pain of my life. While he sat at home high watching football, he gets mad at me for having seizures and keeping him awake because he has work in the morning. I tell him I'm struggling badly with depression and suicidal ideation, and he gets mad at me for something small and doesn't talk to me for days. Well, he didn't work for an entire year. I put myself into debt and worked myself into the ground despite what my specialist said, so that we could stay afloat. When I was sad, he got mad at me for putting myself in the situation and even accused me of cheating. I'm done, and I know when I break it off he'll try make it my fault. But fuck him, I deserve more and I'll give it to myself. Stories number 12. My husband is learning new things after our separation. I'm a 39 female and my husband 38 male. In the last few months had found out he had cheated on me, and since then said he broke it up with this girl, which I did confirm and saw through his phone without him knowing. Because he did what he did, I didn't think I could be with him under the same roof and had to focus on healing, and he also needs to figure himself out too. So now we are currently in a trial separation. Nothing in paper, nothing official. We've been through so much in our marriage. I felt unappreciated, and I am sure he felt I was no longer attracted to him. We both work, and still there were imbalances of the housework. He didn't help around the house with the kids' cooking, meals, dishes, laundry, yard work, etc. As a result, I was not intimate with him. I was always tired and sure held a lot of resentment. Now that we're separated, when talking he would mention cooking at work, trying a new recipe. The latest one was learning how to braid using a mannequin one of his coworkers brought in so he can learn to braid my daughter's hair in the morning. When he mentioned these topics onto separate times, I told him I was jealous. He's only doing these things now that we're separated. I accused him of being spectacle at work, displaying himself as the single good dad. Why now? He said he has to learn cause I'm no longer around, but I can't help but feel like he's using this to set the narrative as the single struggling dad. Am I overreacting for being upset that my husband is trying new things at work? Stories number 13. Aita for not wanting to meet my dying grandma. 16-year-old guy here. My mom and bio dad divorced when I was 6 after my mom find out that he has been cheating with coworker now wife Trisha and had gotten her pregnant. It wasn't a meaty divorce. My mo just wanted to start fresh. He let him keep the house and one for the car. It became 50-50s for about a year till he started prioritizing his new wife and kid over me. I was upset and tried having spend time with me. Well, my mom did, but you get the gist. He doubled down after he has 2 more kids and clearly wanted to forget I ever existed. My mom did really try to talk to him about this and how much it made me feel unwanted, but he didn't change. His family was also very cruel to me and my mom, telling her to fuck off and calling her names for simply trying to get the bastard to see his kid. My mom is Romani, and I remember that moment. I hated my grandma. My mom had brought me to his house since it was his day, and my grandma chased her out, calling her all sorts of slurs. After 12, I just told her to stop, and I moved on from him. I stopped talking to his side of the family, and my God, did it do some good. My mom remarried when I was 10. And my stepdad is simply amazing. I have 2 little sisters now and life was going great. Well, a couple days ago, he reached out saying his mom was dying and wanted to see me. I texted back and told him I only have one grandma, before blocking him. Few days after that, he and his dad came to our house, demanding I go see her since it was her last wish to see me. I just asked why didn't she bother all these years. I told them that she has other grandkids and I'm not going to be her ticket to heave, and his dad tried stepping up to buy. My stepdad got in between and told them to fuck off. Now I've been getting messages from his side of the family, trying to guilt trip me to see a woman that didn't even care that I wasn't in her life anymore, till she realized how cruel her action had been and now just wants to apologize to maybe get into heaven. My mom and stepdad are on my side, but my stepdad brother heard about it and said I should just do it too. Get it over since I might have regrets. Stories number 14. Aita for breaking up with my girlfriend over her parents. This is a long story, but I would appreciate it if someone read it and gave me some advice. This is my first Reddit post, so I'm not too familiar with how these things work, so please bear with me. I, 23, have been dating a girl for about a year and 3 months now. When we first got together, she warned me that her parents, mainly her father, is a bit crazy. Well, was she right? When we first got together, everything was good, no issues with them, and I heard good things back from her that her parents liked me. Her dad is a very straight and arrow type of guy. His way or the highway. He has a lot of control over her. She has a curfew and is not allowed to stay over whatsoever. Don't even think about it, which I can somewhat respect considering she still lives at home, etc. She's not allowed to attend any of the weekend trips that me and my family go on, even though her parents are invited to them as well. There was one instance where he did say yes that she could go on one camping trip with me and my family. What a fuck up. We were lying in bed at night about to go to bed. We have very limited service where we are, so text messages and phone calls kinda come when they want to. She gets a text message from her mother saying to call her ASAP, etc. He blast out to the road to try and gain some better cell service. For a phone call she reaches her mother and her mother tells her that she is here to pick her up. We passed by her on the way out but didn't clue in that it was her. We meet up with her mother and she says that her father sent her up here to get her. We are about 5 hours from home, so here we are thinking something terrible has happened for her to drive 5 hours to come get her, only to find out that he just wants her home and regrets saying yes to her going. We stood there and talked for roughly 2 hours and her mother insulted me multiple times for reasons as dumb as the genre of music I like. Let me remind you, her parents were invited on this trip but chose to stay home. They both end up staying with me and my family for the night. Her mother waking up and leaving before the sun rose due to fear of embarrassment. She goes home later that weekend to find that her mother is in trouble with her father because she went up there and tried to get my girlfriend to come home, which would then go against his word that she could go. Then my girlfriend was also in trouble for not listening to her mother. Sounds crazy, right? Just wait. Her mother has always been nice to me, making me coffees and sending me home with leftovers, etc. Her father has always been nice to me as well, even though he always has something to say behind my back to my girlfriend for something as small as the vehicle I drive isn't a high-quality, long-lasting Toyota. Just recently for family day one, invited her family up to my father's house to go ATVing, something I have done on a few occasions, but they have never taken me up on my offer. This time they did the morning of when they were supposed to come. Her dad says he isn't feeling well, which is fine, no pressure. He ends up saying he's going to pass, but that her mom can still go and he will load the ATVs for her, and she and my girlfriend can go together. So the ATVs are loaded, trucks packed, they're ready to leave at the last minute. He says to her that this isn't a good idea because she's never towed this specific trailer with this truck. She's been driving big trucks and trailers for over 30 years. They owned a landscaping company together. She ends up starting to second guess herself and ends up bailing too, but she still decides to come up and she will just ride one of our machines. The day goes by, we have an amazing day, and she goes home to find him in a fit of rage that she went without him and all this other stuff from past experiences with her. Nothing bad, she's a very good wife and mother. He's just out to lunch. He ends up kicking her mother out for this and she goes and stays at a friend's house. Few days go by and she comes back and they talk. My girlfriend overhears them talking about me, mainly him yelling at her, and she's just listening. He tells her that she emotionally cheats on him with me because of how nice and helpful she is with me, the coffees, leftovers, etc. Turns out he doesn't like that she's nice to me because I haven't put in the work. Not sure what that means. He can't even explain it himself. I had helped them around their house many times, from yard clean up to cooking dinner and breakfast. This is getting to the point where he's mentally abusing all of us and he's playing mental gymnastics to get them to listen to him and go by what he says. No one's allowed an opinion or an option. He just recently said I'm not allowed at their place anymore, which is extremely hard on my girlfriend to do all of the driving. We live about an hour apart. In the past he's complained that I don't come down enough. Now I'm not allowed at all for next to no reason other than his wife is nice to me. They stopped sleeping in the same bed and he got mad at her for sleeping in the bed that I usually sleep in when I stay over there, saying that she's only sleeping in that bed because I did. He got so mad that he punched a hole in the door while she was trying to sleep. When they both listen to him and abide by his crazy rules, the house runs smooth. When they don't, it's like the sky is falling. There has been many instances, like the ones I just explained, over the years that my girlfriend has explained to me. Her mother has been kicked out over a dozen times for stuff as small as this. She's a battered woman. Everyone who she talks to is telling her to leave me, my family, her boss, her family, and even the women's shelter she called told her to leave. She won't, so I have gave up trying with her. She recently Booked a trip for her and my girlfriend to go to England to see her mother. Her dad has a big fear of airplanes, so he does not fly over. The whole family day situation, he made her cancel the trip to England, saying how if she didn't then she didn't love him. I should also mention that my girlfriend mother's mother is currently being treated for cancer and she hasn't seen her in over 10 years. She does end up canceling the trip, and my girlfriend is devastated over it, rightfully so. Anyways, there's lots more to this. This is just a drop in the bucket, but that's the main juicy stuff. Things are okay between her and I, but she always seems to get sucked into his crazy narcissistic ways, saying she's a terrible daughter and that her mother is an idiot for letting her date me, etc. I recently offered to let her move in with me to escape this, but she seems hesitant to leave them. I'm not going to twist her arm that if she doesn't leave to stay with me that I'm going to break up with her, but I frankly want absolutely nothing to do with her family anymore, and that's not healthy for her, or I don't think I feel bad leaving her over her family stuff, and I have to deal with these people for the rest of my life and I just know I won't be able to do it. I feel lost and muddy on how to deal with this. I don't see us lasting much longer if she stays with her family, because I will not deal with their stupid small bullshit issues with me and her dating. Mainly her father and her mother is just a spitting image of him due to reasons have stated above. A lot of their marital issues are blamed on my girlfriend because her father is not approachable on anything, so her mother does it for her and that causes issues. Edit. Wowie. Didn't expect this much of a response. Then you to answer some commonly asked questions. My girlfriend is 20. People keep missing it. We have been dating 1 year and 3 months approximately. We are both white. I have not broken up with her yet. I have just been considering it. Because of how bad things are with her family, I wasn't sure if it was right or fair of me to do that. My girlfriend is an only child and she has said previously she worries about what will happen to her parents if she leaves, especially her mom, and she thinks her mom will be blamed for her leaving, which I agree with. My girlfriend is also not the rebellious type, so I think doing something that she knows is blatantly against what her parents would want scares her. Aita for breaking up with my girlfriend over her parents. First off, thanks to everyone for taking the time to respond. I was not expecting so many comments and so much advice. We also both really appreciate everyone's care and concern for my girlfriend's situation. It meant a lot to us both. I took everyone's advice and sat my girlfriend down for a chat before I made any permanent decisions. Despite being on Reddit asking about breaking up with her, I would actually like to keep her around. I did what a lot of you guys suggested and explained how I'm feeling with the situation with her parents and how much it puts on me. I told her how I don't see a happy future for either of us if things don't take a drastic change. I explained how when I look at my life, the most stressful part is her parents, and it shouldn't be that way. I also told her that I don't feel good bringing my future kids into that situation, and that my days shouldn't be spent worrying about her and her family constantly and waiting for the next big blow up. She was super upset that I was at the point of ending it with her. She reminded me of how she had me promise I wouldn't ditch her because of her parents, which made me feel very guilty. I told her I love her and I don't want to hurt her, but I also need to protect myself too. She said she understands that completely, and it's along that same line of reasoning for why she wants to move out, that she loves her parents but has to protect herself. She apologized several times for letting it go this far and dragging me into it. I could tell she felt absolutely horrible, which made me feel horrible in return. Something must finally flipped for her because she asked if the offer of moving in was still on the table, and I told her it absolutely was. I asked her why she changed her mind, and she said that she could never look at her parents the same for being the reason she lost a good guy who she loves, and that she didn't want to go backwards anymore, so she moved out. Told her dad where he could stuff it, and I'm happy to say we're unpacking her stuff and getting her settled in. As I type this out, she has also agreed to severely limit contact with her parents, and any contact she chooses to have with them will have nothing to do with me, and they will have no place in our lives as a couple unless we're both okay with it. Stories number 15. My new therapist is someone I ghosted on Tinder. Title says it all, specifically using gender-neutral pronouns to conceal identities. I recognized them by the end of our session today, and it dawned on me how I did the worst part. This is the best therapist I had ever had. They are really damn good at their job. They made me realize a few things within the first few sessions that no therapist has before. I never had things about myself click like that before. When I signed up to be their patient, I had no idea that it was them since it has been a while since we've spoken. I ended up ghosting them because I was looking for something more serious and they were looking for something more casual, so I decided messaging wasn't worth it and I ceased contact. I would make accounts over the years and we would match almost every time I did, and the same sort of thing kept happening. I message, they reciprocate, and I end up not messaging back or engaging further. Ego boost or something, I truly do not know. Vain and fucked up, yes, but I have wizened since then. I have no desire to pursue anything romantically, as I truly admire their skills and ability to help me interpret my emotions and mental strife. Even if they are conventionally attractive, I just don't want them to excuse themselves as my therapist because they have some feelings. IDK. What do you guys best suggest on what to do? I really like how they read me like a book and I need someone like that to help me navigate through my mental illness. They seem keen on working with me, but fingers crossed that they don't recognize me. Stories number 16. Disappointed with my experience at a Buddhist temple. In my city, I started going to a Buddhist temple. I follow a lot of Buddhist values, so naturally I wanted to learn from actual Buddhists instead of just learning from books. I've been attending the free sessions and plan on donating what I can afford to for their service. I attended a new meeting session, which was more of a talk and had a monk exploring a Buddhist book, and its teaching. Met some great people, talked in groups too on subjects we were learning. All seemed very good. I was learning a lot. However, right at the very end they announced that these sessions will now cost a large fee for my wage to attend and that I'd needed to sign a form saying I was going to commit to 9 months of sessions, that I had to commit to reading the book they were teaching on, that I'd have to attend every session, attend at least one meditation a week, and sit in a written exam. Due to my job, I have a different rota every week. I'm unable to commit to anything really whilst trying to be what I'd consider a student of knowledge. I tell them this and I basically get told to just sign up, which includes paying, and to tell them if I can't attend the sessions. Hate to say it, but red flags just instantly go up for me. It went from a nice environment of learning to feeling like I was being sold something as if I was just another customer, and I definitely felt an attitude change towards me when I said I may not be able to attend. I feel like I suddenly realized I was being sold Buddhism rather than them wanting to willingly teach. This doesn't feel in line with the Buddhist teachings of compassion. They weren't trying to encourage me to still come to learn or to attend the free meditation. It was either I pay or I'm out. I can still attend the free meditation for everyone, but these study sessions were now cut off from me. Why not allow me to just pay for the sessions I can come to do to my job? Why not have the doors of knowledge open for everyone to come and learn despite their situation? What of the homeless man with no money? They seemed to only want me for the sessions and said they couldn't be flexible about it. Unless, of course, I pay the fee, then just let them know if I can't attend if I have work, but I'm not allowed to just attend if I had time, and I just want to experience and learn what I can when I can. Know I have to be committed. Honestly, it started feeling like a clut. Buddhism was formed from multiple different beliefs and ideas. The original Buddha was taught by different gurus and surpassed them in their teachings. I feel like some groups of Buddhists has forgotten this and it's became way too religious and stuck in blind faith. I think it's became way too dependent on its own teachings. It felt very westernized in the way some religions work. It's totally changed a lot of my perspective. I'll always still study Buddhism. I think the original Buddha's teachings are fantastic. I just see a disconnect in the modern world. I think there's a reason why the Buddha found enlightenment in the wild by the woods and lake and not in a temple. Edit. Been informed this is a cult. Thank you. Will not be attending again and will not be donating. Stories number 17. My landlady is suddenly acting up, so I rented this living space in February when I had an internship, and I told the landlady Hajit about it months past, and I was paying her well and all the bills were paid on time. Now 2 months were sticky for me, and the internship program ended and I didn't have a job to take on. I struggled and paid her 1 month, then she's owing me 1 month back, making 2 months on 15th of this month. Now yesterday, they had some electricity issues since we have 1 Yakum meter and submeters for each tenant. Hajib called me up and said that I talked some words about her having a fridge, and she uses a lot of electricity units. To be honest, I'm a quiet person and I always stay indoors. When around I even sometimes sleep out. I wonder where she got all that. Now she's telling me that the owners of the place I'm living in want to use it as a storage unit. She went ahead and gave me 1 week to find another space and go. I'm somewhat worried and I don't know what next. Is it even acceptable to suddenly tell me to leave like that? She didn't even tell me prior that the space isn't hers. I think she's playing tricks. Is it lawfully acceptable? Stories number 18. I was able to help my daughter caught in a travel challenge. My young adult daughter was on a solo long weekend trip that she had planned for months. Her flight plus connecting flight this afternoon to come home ended up delayed, then delayed, and now put off until she wouldn't even be leaving until tomorrow, which would cause her to miss a whole day of work. I ended up looking to see if there was another airline with a flight she could still catch even though it's getting later where she is. It turned out there was a non-stop flight on another airline where I had almost enough points to cover it. I checked with her to see if she would want to take that one, then got the few more points I needed and booked her on that flight. She was very grateful. It's really nice to be able to help. Stories number 19. Aita for not wanting to be around my brother and my sil. This is my first time posting on Reddit and English isn't my first language, so I apologize if something doesn't make sense. I 26F have an older brother 32M. We used to get along really well, but things have changed over the last years. My brother left our hometown a couple years ago because of work and with my father out of the picture, and that's a whole other extremely traumatic experience, and me not working yet back then. That has meant that all the weight of taking care of our mother and the house is on me because I am the one that stayed. I can't move out. I have 2 jobs, but I simply can't afford it, and my mother needs my help both economically and with her disability. She has mobility issues. I don't mind living with her, taking care of things even if the mental weight of it all is sometimes a bit too much for me. My brother and his girlfriend 2AF barely come home to visit, and my brother really isn't involved with anything that has to do with my mother's doctor appointments, surgeries, or economic situation. He has the right to have his own life and live it as he pleases, but my mother struggled a lot to make sure we had everything we needed, and it pains me seeing her worrying so much about someone that doesn't seem to care that much about her. I don't want him to pay for anything. I would just like for him to be more attentive, I guess. Anyway, to the main issue here. A year ago I went out for dinner with my brother Sil, her sister, and her sister's partner. Suddenly, without any prompting, my sil decided to question every choice I have made in my life. The fact I studied a degree she thinks I shouldn't have gone for, the fact I still live with my mother, and she made some comments that were really hurtful after I said I was waiting for the right moment to move, that I would like to find a partner first. She told me some people are just destined to be alone, like I am the most unlovable creature in the planet. I am insecure. Yeah, I am human, and that's one of the things that really worries me. She also said that my brother and her had discussed it all a lot of times, like all they do in their free time is talk about my life or something. I would like to think it came from a place of worrying, but I can't feel it was like that, not when it was so unprompted, and not when all I have been to her is welcoming and nice. My brother said nothing. He just watched her say all those things without trying to say anything positive or defend me. I was completely frozen on the spot because I wasn't waiting for that speech at all, even less in front of 2 other people that were basically strangers to me and who had no right or need to know about my shitty, depressing life. I also didn't need her to say any of those things. I think about them enough as it is. Since then, I have tried to avoid spending time with them when they come visit, but it feels wrong, especially when it comes to my brother, because I do love him a lot, but I can't forget how that day he didn't say anything. I stopped talking to him, to the both of them, and he hasn't barely reached out until today. This weekend marks the start of our city's major holidays, so they are going to be here, and he wants to hang out. I don't know what to do. I should get over it, and I should have told him about how much her words hurt me back then. Now I don't see the point, and back then I didn't want to get between them because my brother is genuinely happy with her. I refuse to get another life evaluation from people that don't even know how much I am fighting to keep my head afloat while studying and working 2 jobs. Thanks for reading. It felt good to let everything out. I will try my best to answer any questions if you have any. Update. Aita for not wanting to be around my brother and his partner. Hi guys, I wanted to give you a little update about the situation with my brother and his partner that I shared this week. Before that, I wanted to say thank you to everyone that has reached out and given me their time, advice, and kind words. You all are great, and I will never forget how hurt and seen you have made me feel. I have tried to reply to everyone, and I have answered some questions. I am so sorry if I have missed any messages. I thank you too for taking the time to help me. Well, maybe this update isn't that big and nothing crazy happened, but it was big for me and I wanted to share. My brother came home yesterday. I wanted to talk to him then, but I didn't have the chance. Since my lunch break was too short and we weren't alone, he didn't mention hanging out again, so I didn't have the chance to talk with him about that either. Today, however, he was around my workplace and we went home for lunch together, just the two of us. When I finished work, I know he knew there was something wrong and he was trying really hard to make small talk, but I was having none of it. I can't recall the whole conversation word by word, but here are the main things I told him about. First of all, I didn't want to hang up because I am tired and stressed. I have told him about how I am working, studying for an state teaching exam, and trying to finish my master. That's all true, not an excuse on my part. I told him I am also annoyed by something that happened with his partner. I explained the situation to him and how it made me felt. He says he remembers that he understands how I feel. I got the response I was waiting for, honestly almost nothing at all, but now he knows she was out of place, that it was rude and unexpected. I have told him I don't want any advice unless I ask for it, and even if I had asked for advice back then, the way she said the thing she said to me wasn't it, even less in front of her family. He agrees on that she shouldn't have said anything, not in front of other people. I have a feeling he was telling me what I wanted to hear at that point. I have told him I need time and space, that I don't want to go through any more situations like that, and that I am going to take a step back and not be around them more than I need to. If he doesn't like it, well, that's his problem. I told him I don't need people that come around once in a blue moon to tell me what I have to do. They don't know the situation we have, not really, so they shouldn't have an opinion about it. I am the one living the situation, so I know exactly how things are with or without his insight. I told him they need to keep their advice to themselves if they aren't going to offer any help after. Also, I mentioned how everything is on me. I mentioned the things I have had to deny myself to make everything work. How now that we are waiting for my mom to have major surgeries, everything is going to be on me. And how I am scared I am not going to be able to do it all on my own, that when I look back at this time of my life, a big part of the things I am going to remember is this deep loneliness and helplessness I feel. To sum up, the biggest part on this for me is that I have spoken up for myself, that I have expressed my opinion and my feelings, and that I have set a boundary, because like I told him, I won't be receiving any more undesired advice, even if he tried to tell me she did it out of her worrying for me, because he said that he also said that she had mentioned it before too. Again, like I told him, her advice means nothing if it isn't accompanied by any kind of help. Empty words, that's all. I also told him how her life doesn't apply to mine, that maybe she had to stop following her dreams for her own reasons, but that I am fighting hard to follow them because I refuse to live a what if for the rest of my life. I also mentioned how I have never judged anyone or their choices. On the contrary, whenever I have had the chance to talk highly about them, and especially his partner, I have never wasted it, because I genuinely appreciate them and wish happiness for the both of them despite it all. I don't think things are going to change a lot, and probably I was too mild, but I feel so much lighter now anyway, because I don't have to pretend everything is alright, and I have expressed my feelings and worries, so he knows. Thank you so much again for reading and for all your help. You gave me the courage to sit down, order my thoughts, and be able to communicate them effectively. Stories number 20. My F23 boyfriend and 26's little brother creeps me out, but my boyfriend isn't taking it seriously. I don't know what to do. I am not really sure how to handle this situation and would appreciate some advice. I 23F have been with my boyfriend 26M for almost 3 years. And we lived together recently. His parents were arrested. I'd rather not go into the details. And as a result, his little brother 11 meters has had to move in with us. I understand the situation is complicated, and my boyfriend didn't really have a choice. Obviously, he couldn't just leave his brother with nowhere to go. The thing is, I find his little brother creepy, and I feel horrible even saying that. I know he's a kid and he's gone through a traumatic experience, but some of the things he does make me really uncomfortable. For instance, he Stares at me a lot, like almost all the time. When we're in the same room he'll catch him just watching me, and it's unsettling. He also has this habit of walking into our bedroom without knocking, especially when my boyfriend is out. I've told him multiple times that he needs to knock, but he either ignores it or just doesn't care. He will shower and use the bathroom with the door wide open, clearly so everyone can see him when walking past, even though I have told him he needs to keep the door closed when he's in there. One time, I had just gotten out of the shower and was in my towel when I walked into the bedroom, and he was just standing there staring at me. I asked him what he was doing, and he didn't even answer, just kept staring before finally walking away. I brought this up to my boyfriend, but he brushed it off, saying his brother is probably just adjusting to everything and doesn't mean any harm. I lent him my laptop because he said he needed it for homework, and when I got it back it was completely filled with porn, like he had downloaded porn. It was in the search history. Told my boyfriend he needed to speak with him, but my boyfriend says it's normal for a boy his age. He just told me to clear the search history and delete what he downloaded. But he is not being normal, he is weirding me out, and I feel bad even saying it. I get that this kid is dealing with a lot. Losing his parents like that is traumatic, but at the same time, I feel like my feelings are being dismissed. My boyfriend says I'm overreacting, but I honestly feel really uncomfortable in my own home now. I even find myself avoiding being alone with his brother because it just feels weird. I don't know if I am overreacting. Like, I understand giving some leeway because of everything that's happened in his life, but he is really weirding me out. Any advice on how to handle this would be really appreciated. Stories number 21. Aita for not wanting to babysit my nephew anymore after what my brother did. Okay, so this has been bothering me for a while and I'm at my wits' end. I 28F have been babysitting my nephew 5 meters for the past year or so. A few times a week I work from home, and my brother 30 from meters, and his wife asked me if I could help out because they both have demanding jobs. At first, I didn't mind because I love my nephew and he's generally well behaved. But recently my brother did something that has me fuming. Last week I was babysitting and my nephew had a total meltdown. He didn't want to go to bed, and when I tried to calm him down, he threw his toys all over the place. I told my brother about it when he came to pick him up, and he brushed it off, saying he's just a kid. I told him I understand that, but it was out of control and he should talk to him about it. My brother basically ignored me, took my nephew, and left. A couple of days later I found out through a mutual friend that my brother had been telling people into soft and that I don't know how to handle kids. He even joked that I was probably making it up because I can't deal with real-life responsibilities. I was so hurt. I've been helping them out for free, rearranging my schedule for them. And this is how he talks about me behind my back. When I confronted him about it, he acted like it was no big deal and said it was just a joke. Don't be so sensitive. Since then, I've been seriously reconsidering whether I want to keep babysitting for them. I feel like my effort isn't appreciated, and now I'm being mocked for trying to help. My brother is mad because he thinks I'm overreacting, and my mom said I should just let it go. But I feel like I deserve more respect than this. So Aita for not wanting to babysit anymore after what my brother said. Stories number 22. Aita for not selling my house. My husband 32 meters and I 32F have been married for 12 years, together for 13 for 13 years. He's been the picture perfect, caring, adoring, attentive husband and father to our 3 kids, all under 12. He was doting, loving, and a great provider, and I stayed at home from the time our second child was born. So 9 years now. He was literally the guy everyone called a friend. The old ladies at church called him when they needed help. He taught Sunday school. People trusted them to babysit their kids. And he was one of the only dads in our friend group that would volunteer to watch everyone's kids. If the moms wanted to go out, my friends were jealous of his willingness to always be there and be so involved with the kids without me asking for breaks. He was very much aware they were his children as well and never complained. Our only marital disputes were what I think were normal things like, hey, you forgot to take out the trash, and maybe the worst being disagreeing on how to discipline the kids. With them being so young, it wasn't ever big things. He started a business a little over a year ago, and while I was nervous about his ability to manage a business, he's an incredibly hard worker, and I was so proud of him and wanted to support him. I knew he was working his butt off 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, so I didn't really think it was that unusual that he was more distant and easily And no way over the last year he was still loving and trying to be a good dad. 6 months ago, he literally woke up and left in the middle of the night, said he hadn't been happy in our marriage for 10 years. Said he couldn't even be in our house. He's lived in his truck since then. Not a week has gone by that I don't find out a new lie. He never owned our car. He had sold the same truck to multiple people. He stopped paying our mortgage months ago. He took huge personal loans out. He let the insurance on his business trucks lapse. He stopped paying the guys working for him and took out so many predatory loans that I started getting calls to my phone from creditors. There had been so many more. And also a very questionable relationship with a woman he met, at the very least an emotional affair, but he insists there is nothing else. Don't really want to get into that. The long story short, him filing for divorce even though I'm heartbroken and feel completely blindsided. Luckily for me, none of this is in my name, man. The only one affecting me is the mortgage. He's trying to force me to sell our home. Lived here for 7 years, 13 interest rate for B2B and a low monthly payment, so he can pay off his debts. Me and the kids would move into my mom's basement until he can buy us a new home. I'm not naive enough to believe that will happen, but he's turning into a vindictive person. I don't even recognize he took my car under the guise of getting it repaired and refuses to return it. He won't tell me where it is. It's in his name, as I never had a reason to ever think he was capable of any of this. I gave him my entire life and trusted him with everything for the last 13 years. Anyway, the sudden drastic character change and seemingly departure from reality makes me concerned that it's possibly a mental health crisis, but he refuses to get any help at all. So to protect the kids and I from further consequences of his actions, I have filled out the paperwork and will be filing. I haven't worked in 9 years and have a special needs child and a medically fragile child who have been homeschooled. I am desperately trying to get a job as quickly as possible to save our home. I know I can do it. I'm capable and smart, but it's going to be hard. I know saving the house is going to be in the kids' best interest, and I won't ever find a rental remotely like what we have in my price range, but he keeps telling me things like, if you really loved me you would sell the house, or you're making my life really hard, or accusing me of trying to take everything from him when he left us and hasn't been restricted access from the house or kids or anything. He also rarely tries to see or contact the kids. He even ignores their messages, and they send him message from their kids' messaging apps on their tablets. I still love him and am so concerned for his health and safety and know my kids have to be number one. But his guilt trips are weighing on me, and I guess in just looking for an outside opinion, am I doing the right thing, or should I be selling the house to get him out of trouble? Sorry if this is a little unorganized. It's really hard to write about. I wanted to make sure put enough in to understand the situation, but I don't want the story to be recognized. Thanks for reading. TLD, our loving husband of 12 years left suddenly and demanded a divorce. Then I found out he had massive secret debts, has had little to no communication with the kids, complete personality change, and living in his car. Now wants me to sell the house to pay off his debts before we get divorced. I want to keep it because it's the safest place for my kids and the smartest decision financially. Thank you, but not looking for legal advice. I'm working with a lawyer to make sure I do everything I can to keep myself separate from his decisions.